I'm going to take you to Carlsberg now. And Carlsberg is situated here. Again, you recognize the center of the city here, and you recognize probably also the main railway station and the tracks into Copenhagen here. So Carlsberg is very close to the track, and that is not by coincidence, but that has to do with the fact that transportation back and forth to the Carlsberg production facilities has been more or less the reason why it has been situated there. And another reason is that specifically in this area of Copenhagen, the water quality is special due to the fact that the limestone has a certain character there and a certain transmission issue quality character to it. So also for those reasons, it was originally placed at that spot in order to get water from the underground to use in the beer production that Carlsberg is well famous for. Carlsberg is a brand today. It is a name for a Danish beer. It is named after one of the founders of Carlsberg. It was J.C. Jacobsen who founded Carlsberg, and his son was named Carl, and the brewery was named Carlsberg to kind of be related to the fact that J.C. Jacobsen had the son Carl. And Carl and his father were both like very important mentors, if you could say so, in regards to cultural life and art life in Copenhagen. So for that reason, there is, as I already mentioned in the lecture, a number of characteristic and beautiful existing buildings in the Carlsberg area that it has been very crucial and quite mandatory for Copenhagen municipality to celebrate these buildings when the site or the plant was left in 2008 and the production was moved to Western Denmark. Then the conversion or the transformation of Carlsberg into a new part of the city began, and in that process it has been really, really important to nurture the existing and buildings of high caliber architectural quality and let them be part of the future planning of Carlsberg. I went to Carlsberg and I did this walk like a little week ago, and then yesterday, when it was Saturday, excuse me, I had the opportunity to walk through Carlsberg again, together with a person that I know that works in the development company of Carlsberg, and she could actually show me some sites that I had not seen before and that were not specifically part of my tour. So I'm adding another slide to this presentation with some pictures from other parts of the development of Carlsberg in the final slide of the presentation. So look forward to that. But I went on this tour and I started out here in Valby Langgade, which is a street that follows along a big, very beautiful park that is called Søndermark. So there is actually this very English tradition park up here in the northwestern corner of Carlsberg, which is also a mean for making this a very attractive neighborhood, that you're very close to this big park. And when I stand out here in Valby Langgade, I look at this gate, the Elephant Gate, which is the entrance to the Carlsberg area from the northeast-west corner here. All over here you can see one of the big silos from the original plant in Valby, Copenhagen, and you can see the very significant brand, the signature or the icon of Carlsberg that allows this to be like one of these landmarks of high, tall buildings that you can see from several places of Copenhagen. And I went further down and got closer to the tower, the Elephant Gate, and up here you can see the name Carl and Ottilia Jacobsen. Carl was the son of the founder, and Ottilia was his wife. And Carl and Ottilia have meant a great deal for the art life in Copenhagen, and they actually also were the founders of the big Glyptotek with downtown Copenhagen, which is an extremely beautiful place to visit with a very impressive and very beautiful collection of several pieces of fine art. So I'm gonna go through the gate, and as soon as I get into the gate, I see some buildings that has this very characteristic feature to it, that they are built of tiles, and that you have done a lot in the Carlsberg area to actually use this material as a facade material. And that is not by coincidence. I may have mentioned it already, but Denmark is consisting of clay. We don't have very much granite or anything in our underground. We have a very, you could say, soft underground, and that's basically clay. And for those reasons, clay has been the major building material in Denmark for centuries. All the way back to the Middle Ages, and even before, buildings were built by bricks and tiles burned from the clay that we have in our underground. And in Carlsberg, which consists of many beautiful existing buildings that are brick buildings, this has been a theme that they have also tried to pursue in how to plan and define building materials for new buildings. And this building that you see here is a new building. It's part of a school that has an international school that has been in Carlsberg, where they have put a great emphasis upon using tiles as a beautiful and plastic, wonderful living material for facades. I'm gonna go down through here and in through some of the existing beautiful buildings down to this square, which is a combination of new and old. Here you see the backside of a big silo building where they had like horizontally laid silos that were open in both ends. It has not been used for anything other than storage and production. So there is no daylight in the building besides from these windows that are new and added into the openings of the silos. And then they have rebuilt it and actually made a hotel out of it. And this is one of the new designer hotels in Copenhagen that are quite popular and where many wants to stay. So it's also quite attractive and relatively difficult to get a room there. It's facing a nice new square and a new building over here, which is also part of the hotel. And up here on the top of this hotel, there's going to be a Michelin restaurant. And down here, there are cafes and breakfast restaurants also. And I'm gonna walk through that square and get to the other side of this building. And there you have that very characteristic icon building that quite a few people know that is part of Carlsberg. In the other facade, which we just saw in the picture from the square, you could see that there were windows here. This part of the building is listed, and you could not do anything about it. So what would you want to do in a situation where you actually want to place a hotel here and where you want that hotel to have a daylight? What they did was that they opened the brick facade in these very narrow windows here. So in this end, in this facade, you actually have daylight entering through these vertical openings. And in the other ends, you have the rounded windows. In that sense, they have tried to be faithful to the existing architecture and also to the fact that the building is listed and that this building actually contributes quite impactful to the overall feel of the entire area. I'm gonna go a little bit further down this square, and this square is also characteristic because there is a very tall winding chimney there, which is kind of the center point or the pivot point, if you could say so, of a new planned area in the middle of the existing buildings here. And that is where I'm standing right now. I'm looking around and see some of the new shops in the new buildings. Looking towards the big silo we saw before, the school with the beautiful tiling, the Otelia Hotel, the winding the winding chimney, and the quite nice laid out for this square, which is not only like a public square, it's also a square where the children in the school have their time off whenever they're going from one class to another class. So from here on, I'm going down this street, and there are so much building activity going on in this area that I don't really want to trouble you with that, because what is much more interesting is to go inside this park area down here, where you have some beautiful existing buildings, but also some very, very nice new buildings. And I'm going to show you a couple of them. This is a building that is situated right here. It is new. It is designed by a very, very intelligent young architecture office called Praxis. And what it is that it's actually housing for visiting artists that need some kind of place for living for half or a whole year. They can address the Carlsberg Foundation and get access to living in this beautiful tile building with a very attractive closeness to the J.C. Jacobson Garden, which was originally planned for the benefit of Jacobson, and I will show you how and why just in a second. But first of all, you need to enjoy this extremely beautiful facade, brick facade again, where Praxis architects also enjoy and celebrate what you can actually do when you really go into the texture and the quality of bricks and make that work, and how you can actually do artist jobs with that. Very beautiful building in my opinion. I'm going a little bit further into J.C. Jacobson's garden, and I'm looking at this other very beautiful tile building that is called the Falling Gardens, and you may recall why, because you can vaguely see that this is like a 1 week old picture, but when it's summer you actually have all kinds of meandering green green plants and stuff growing down across these facades here, and you have the daylight coming into a building where you can do teaching and all kinds of education activities, and then the only daylight comes in through here, and the facade is consisting of these tile shapes, if you could call them that, where with green plants on them. It's called the hanging gardens because of the character that it gains in the summertime when it's turning green there. Looking towards this building and then turning around and looking in the other direction, then you have a miniature building, the miniature glyptothek, where J.C. Jacobson himself lived in this park, and it's under reconstruction right now, but there is a greenery here, a really nice greenery, and today this building is used as a conference center. I have actually had the pleasure of joining a few conferences there myself, and it is a very, very beautiful venue for conferences with lots of, you could say, old classical artsy atmosphere to it. A really, really nice place. And the park is in, as I said already, this garden. So you can have a beautiful walk around there, and then you can go out again and approach this center down here, which is consisting of schools, education facilities, shops, supermarkets, and then this tower, which contains housing, luxurious housing, and expensive housing, and again working as a landmark, a way to attract attention, to be visible from more parts of the city, and tell that out here in this Carlsberg area we have some landmarks, some branding buildings that tells you that both modern and traditional things are going on in this area. So that was more or less the tour of through the part as such, and then I'm going to finalize with showing you some of the other new developments and refurbishment developments that are taking place out there. That's basically up in this area that I will be walking around, and there will be, for instance, in this case we are up here and we have a climate adaptation project here, where when it's raining a lot, there will be some canals that can soak up all the heavy rainfalls and allow also for a funny and interesting playground for children at the same time. And this is down here in this place. We're going up some stairs. We are in an area where you actually build a parking space, and then on top of that parking space you build new housing, so you can have like an undulating walk through the city in this specific area. Another area contains traditional housing that were originally built, like the potato rows that we talked about earlier. We are up in this area. It reminds us a lot about the potato rows that I have been talking about in other parts of Copenhagen. And then you have kind of mirrored the architecture of the potato rows in these new, same scale housing areas. And in between, some existing trees has been left, but are being integrated in another climate adaptation project, also to allow for for rain to be absorbed by the underground instead of creating water spaces on top of it. Another place also in this housing area, you actually established a new soccer game space, and also this is like in Enghave Place that we have been visiting during the course. It is like a basin where you can absorb, you can actually, when it's raining heavily, you will actually have a little lake here, and that lake can go up all the way to here if it's necessary. But when it's dry, you also have a space where you can play all kinds of games there. And this is a third climate adaptation area where you also can experience a situation where this is actually underwater, and that dynamic of creating something that works together with the nature or the climate is very appealing and very inspiring for many of these families with small children that live in this area. Again, I focus upon the tile as a material, and this is actually when I went up the staircase here, I came up into this very nice courtyard where also there is a focus upon combining the modern architecture the very cool architecture with green plants and a focus upon creating green spaces that gives a very nice dynamic in the area. And last but not least, a glance back towards Ottilia Hotel, the hotel that we started out with a very characteristic facade. So those were a short tour around in Carlsberg. And as in many other places that I've shown you, it would be much nicer if we could have been there in person. But I hope that you can get an impression about something that at the moment is quite empty because of the Corona crisis. But also, on the other hand, allow for a very nice life when we will get back to some kind of normal conditions again.